when I was completing the dissertation, I spent a couple of years just reading all the literature on sacrifice I could possibly find. And so I had to read like, you name it, Gustav Allen, all these different ones. I read everyone who talked about different aspects of sacrifice, and some of them Christian, some non-Christian, anthropological studies. And I came to René Girard, and I was trying to see in what ways like his scapegoat, idea, and there's a sense that I saw that there's some parallels between his idea of the scapegoat and how he says that Christ ultimately fulfills that. He becomes one who takes on everything.
Yeah.
But it was still a little bit too Protestanty for me.
Well, it's not just that. It's that Girard misses another aspect of sacrifice. And so if you take the Yom Kippur sacrifice, for example, it's like there are two sacrifices, my friend. There's one that is out to the wilderness, and there's one that's offered up. And the sacrifice that's offered up is not the same, Christ brings them together, and in a very, very mind-shattering way, but they're not the same. And so, it's like, when, for example, like the pouring out of libations and all of these types of behaviors that the ancients said cannot be reduced to scapegoat sacrifice. And so Girard, it's as if Girard gets half of the story right, but he's missing an entire half of the story, which makes his theory, in my opinion, insufficient, and means that it's difficult for him to reach this conclusion. So his tendency will be to say that Christ has abolished sacrifice, and now there's no more sacrifice, and
Right.
now there's no more sacred. There's actually no more sacred anymore. Whereas the true Christian position is to say Christ has shown how all of this has to become internalized, and that we can take the sins of others to some extent, even that we can sacrifice ourselves, that we can become the scapegoats in many ways, but that is a healing, and that internalized process now is the way that we live. And it's actually the way that our morality is based on that, implicitly or explicitly is based on that image of what sacrifice is.
I think, well, in the 20th century, in Saint Philemon the Athonite, he has this idea that the ultimate goal is for us to all become Adam, in a sense, and take on the sins of the world, in a sense, right? To be like Christ is to be able to become a scapegoat ourselves, to become, the Passover offering ourselves, to the entire, all the symbolism of the Old Testament sacrificial system capitulated in Christ. We have to imitate that. We have to take that on in some way and live a life of self-offering, of constant sacrifice. And
it's unbearable. Like, I hate every moment of what you just said. Like, I just hate that. I don't want to do that. But I can see in the stories, like if you look at some of the stories of the saints, you have very powerful images, especially in the monastic stories, of monks who do exactly that, who actually take on blame of things they did not do towards the salvation of others. And when people see the monk taking the blame for their sins onto themselves, they're transformed in ways that reproach or that just scolding or whatever punishment would never be able to accomplish. Some of these stories are pretty amazing.